Close your eyes and imagine yourself walking through an ancient marketplace at dusk, the last light of day turning the stone pathways into gold. Around you, the faint murmur of voices settles like evening mist, and you breathe in the scent of olive oil and dust, of merchants closing their stalls for the night. Somewhere distant, a bell chimes softly, and you feel the cool stone beneath your feet, grounding you to this moment, to this place where time seems to move slowly, gently, without urgency or demand. The air is warm on your skin, but the shadows are deepening, and there is a quality of rest beginning to settle over everything. Your shoulders, which you did not realize were tense, begin to release. The weight you have been carrying without naming it begins to grow lighter. There is nothing to rush toward here. Nothing demands your fear. The day is closing. The world is preparing for rest. And in this moment, in this golden marketplace where time has grown soft and kind, you too are beginning to settle into stillness. And so we begin our journey, not with the weight of facts, but with the profound gentleness of a philosophy born more than 2,300 years ago in the city of Citium, a small settlement on the eastern coast of Cyprus. Here, in this ancient world where uncertainty dominated every waking moment, where plague and war and loss visited themselves upon people without warning or mercy, there lived a man named Zeno who would change the course of human thought in ways that would echo across 23 centuries. Zeno of Citium was born in the year 335 before the Common Era, arriving into a world of tremendous flux and anxiety. His father was a merchant, a man accustomed to the sea's unpredictability, to the constant negotiations with fate and fortune that commerce demanded. It was perhaps this inheritance, this intimate understanding of uncertainty, that shaped young Zeno's mind toward questions that most people push away from the moment they are born. He wandered the known world, studying in Athens, sitting with philosophers who came before him, absorbing their teachings like soil absorbs water in the cool hours before dawn. In Athens, in approximately the year 300 before the Common Era, Zeno established what would become one of the most influential philosophical schools of the ancient world. He did not build grand temples or elaborate academies. Instead, he chose a simple covered walkway in the Athenian agora, the marketplace, where anyone who wished might listen to his teachings. This colonnade, called the Stoa Poikile, was painted with frescoes of famous scenes, but it was otherwise unadorned. Students would arrive to find Zeno standing or walking slowly along this passage, his simple cloak worn and faded from years of use. Around him, the bustle of the marketplace would continue, merchants calling out their prices, people negotiating and arguing, the ordinary chaos of commerce and daily life. Yet within this simplicity, within this lack of pretense or special setting, something extraordinary took place. The word Stoa would become the very name by which his philosophy came to be known, Stoicism, not because of some grand designation, but because of where a teacher chose to stand and speak. From this humble beginning, painted with only the simplest surroundings, Zeno constructed a philosophy unlike any that had come before. It was not built upon complicated rituals or mysterious initiations, but rather upon a single, crystalline observation about human suffering. He taught that most of our pain, our fear, our constant anxiety does not arise from what actually happens to us, but from what we believe about what happens to us. Our judgments, our interpretations, our insistence that things should be different from what they are, these, he said, are the true sources of our distress. Imagine, for a moment, the radical nature of this teaching in a world without modern comfort or safety. People lived in genuine danger from disease, from violence, from starvation. Yet Zeno suggested that the path to peace lay not in changing external circumstances, though certainly he did not discourage prudent action, but in fundamentally transforming one's relationship to what occurs. This was not denial or pretense. Rather, it was an invitation to examine what lay within one's power and what did not. The ancient sources tell us that Zeno was a man of striking consistency. He lived simply, eating only bread and water, wearing the same worn cloak year after year until it fell to pieces. Yet those who knew him described not a man of deprivation or grim severity, but rather one of profound calm and approachability. His students loved him. His teaching created in them a kind of quiet joy, a sense that they had been given something precious and true. He died, the stories say, at the age of 72, in the year 263 before the Common Era, having shaped a philosophy that would outlast empires and comfort countless hearts across the turning centuries. Now we come to a word of extraordinary beauty and profound significance, ATARAXIA. From the ancient Greek, it means literally without fear or without disturbance. A state of tranquility so deep that it is not the absence of sensation or feeling, but rather the absence of the anxious, churning quality that prevents peace. It is a word that holds within it the entire promise of what the Stoic philosophers sought to teach. To understand ATARAXIA is to understand the very heart of what the Stoics sought to cultivate, what they considered the highest human achievement and the most precious of all possible conditions. It is not numbness, though some modern readers mistake it for this. Rather, it is a kind of serene presence, a way of moving through life's experiences without being overwhelmed or destabilized by them. A Stoic practicing ATARAXIA might feel sorrow at loss, but would not be crushed by it. They might acknowledge disappointment, but would not spiral into despair. Emotion remains, but it no longer controls the center of consciousness. The Stoics understood something that modern psychology has only recently begun to affirm, that much of our suffering is optional. Not all of it. Certainly, pain is real, loss is real, and the human body's capacity to suffer is real. But the secondary suffering, the suffering that comes from our resistance to what is, from our desperate insistence that things should have been different, from our rumination and regret and fear of future possibilities, this suffering can be released. It can be set down like a stone we have been carrying for so long we forgot we could put it down. Let this realization begin to settle into your consciousness. Notice how your own mind works. Notice the ways you have added suffering to events that were themselves neutral. Someone does not smile at you, and your mind tells you that they are angry with you. You make a mistake at work, and your mind spins stories about how others will judge you, how your career might suffer. A loved one grows distant, and your mind rushes forward into scenarios of abandonment. The event itself, the absent smile, the mistake, the distance, is simply what it is. But the layers we add through interpretation, through worry, through our insistence that things should be otherwise, these create the bulk of our pain. Imagine standing on the shore of a vast sea, watching the waves. The waves come and go according to forces far larger than yourself. The wind, the moon, the deep currents of an ancient ocean. A person without ATARAXIA stands on that shore and fights against each wave, shouting at them to stop, exhausting themselves in futile struggle. Their muscles tense, their mind races, their heart pounds as though each wave were a personal attack. A person cultivating ATARAXIA stands on that same shore and watches the waves with equanimity. They understand that waves are the nature of water and wind. They get wet, perhaps, They adjust their position if need be, but they do not rage against the nature of water or the movement of tides. They observe, they respond, they remain at peace. The practice of ATARAXIA, as the Stoics conceived it, rested on a fundamental division between what is in our power and what is not. This simple distinction became the framework for everything they taught. Within our power, they said, lies our judgment, our desire, our aversion, our intention, our assent, in short, everything that depends upon our will. Outside our power lies our body, our property, our reputation, our position in society, everything that is external to our will and therefore subject to forces beyond our control. This teaching, when truly absorbed and lived, produces a profound shift in consciousness. A person begins to notice the endless stream of moments when they suffer not because something bad has happened, but because they have judged it to be bad and then added to that judgment layers of worry, resistance, and complaint. The Stoic learner begins, slowly and gently, to question these interpretations. Is this really as catastrophic as I am telling myself? Am I certain that this is bad, or am I simply afraid? Could there be another way of understanding this moment? And slowly, across weeks and months and years, something begins to change. The mind becomes quieter. The body relaxes. There is less adrenaline, less cortisol, less of the constant chemical stress response that characterizes modern and ancient suffering alike. This is not because external circumstances have become perfect. They rarely do, but because one has stopped demanding that they be perfect. One has accepted, at the deepest level, that life unfolds according to its nature, and that one's peace does not depend on life conforming to one's preferences. The Stoics called this condition apatheia, which modern English has corrupted into the word apathy. But nothing could be further from the truth. Stoic apatheia meant freedom from destructive emotions, not freedom from emotion itself or from moral concern. It meant the ability to feel appropriate responses to life's events without being shattered by those events. It was the achievement of a kind of inner liberty that no external circumstance could violate. And this liberty, the Stoics believed, was the greatest treasure a human being could possess. Nearly 400 years after Zeno established his school in Athens, another figure arose who would bring Stoic philosophy to heights of practical wisdom and emotional depth that seem almost impossible to surpass. His name was Epictetus, and his life embodies, perhaps more than any other figure in the Stoic tradition, the true power of the philosophy he taught. Epictetus was born around the year 50 of the Common Era, in the city of Hierapolis in Phrygia, in what is now modern-day Turkey. He was not born free. From his earliest days, he was the slave of a wealthy man named Epictetus. In the Roman world of that time, slavery was not a peripheral institution, but the foundation upon which vast portions of society rested. Epictetus was the property of another human being, with no legal rights, no ability to own possessions, no control over his own body or future. He had no choice in what he ate, where he slept, or what work he performed. His master's will was the law of his existence. The historical record tells us that when Epictetus was approximately 30 years old, his master twisted one of his legs as punishment for some transgression. What happened in that moment was undeniably painful, brutally, physically painful. The bone threatened to give way. The body screamed in protest at the violence done to it. And yet something extraordinary occurred. As the bone cracked and twisted, Epictetus remained present. He did not lose himself in rage or despair. In that moment of terrible suffering, some deeper part of him remained untouched. He is said to have told his master calmly, "If you continue, you will break it." The master continued, and the bone did break. And Epictetus responded, according to the account, with the words, "I told you so." He did not scream. He did not rage. He did not resist. This story, whether literally true in every detail or refined by those who told it afterward, perfectly captures something essential about Epictetus and the power of Stoic philosophy. His leg was broken. The pain was real. His condition as a slave remained unchanged. Yet something within him had been liberated, not through external changes, but through understanding, through the profound realization that his master could control his body, could break his bones, could take his property and his freedom, but could not touch his capacity to choose his thoughts, his judgments, his fundamental orientation toward life. The master could twist the flesh, but not the will, could imprison the body, but not the freedom of choice. Eventually, Epictetus was freed. Whether by choice of his master or through some other means, history does not clearly record. But his liberation came late in his life, after decades of slavery. By this time, he had fully internalized the teachings of Stoicism, and he used his freedom in a remarkable way. He became a teacher, traveling through the Roman world offering instruction to anyone who wished to listen. He established his school in Nicopolis in Epirus, and there he taught until his death, sometime after the year 108 of the Common Era, having shaped countless lives through his wisdom. The teachings of Epictetus were preserved not through his own writings, he left no books, but through the notes taken by his most famous student, a historian named Arrian, who compiled Epictetus's spoken wisdom into 4 books called the Discourses, and also a shorter work called the Enchiridion, which means handbook. These texts are among the most practical, most direct, most emotionally powerful statements of Stoic philosophy that exist. To read them is to hear the voice of a man who has suffered and understood his suffering in a new way. In his teaching, Epictetus constantly returned to the fundamental Stoic distinction between what is and is not in our control. He taught his students to begin their day by reminding themselves, "Some things are within my power, and some things are not. Within my power are my opinions, my judgments, my desires, my actions. Not within my power are my body, my property, my reputation, my status." And therefore, he taught, I should focus my energy entirely on those things within my power, while maintaining an attitude of indifference toward those things that are not. Yet this indifference was not callousness. Epictetus taught that we should act with wisdom and virtue in the world, should care for others, should engage in productive work and relationships. But we should do so without being attached to outcomes. We should do our duty and then release our hold on what happens next. We should pursue good things, but we should not require that we succeed. We should avoid bad things, but we should not fear them if they come anyway. Epictetus's teaching had a particular relevance for those living under Roman rule, those who were poor, those who suffered under oppressive power structures. His message was that however constrained one's circumstances might be, one's most precious possession, one's power of choice, one's capacity to judge, one's ability to maintain an honest and virtuous character, could never be taken by external force. A slave might be forced to labor, but a slave cannot be forced to believe that labor is shameful. A person might be imprisoned, but their thoughts remain free. A ruler might demand compliance, but compliance is not the same as assent, not the same as inner agreement. This teaching provided comfort and dignity to countless people across the Roman Empire. As Christianity would later spread and offer hope of transcendence to the suffering poor, Stoicism offered them something equally precious: the recognition that their suffering could not diminish their humanity, their worth, or their capacity for virtue. In the face of their circumstances, they were invited to stand upright, to think clearly, and to remain faithful to what was right, regardless of consequence. Their inner freedom was untouchable. While Epictetus was teaching the poor and enslaved in Epirus, another great Stoic philosopher was living in Rome in the very center of power. His name was Lucius Annius Seneca, and his life presents a paradox that illuminates something crucial about Stoic practice: that virtue and simplicity need not correlate with poverty or powerlessness. Seneca was born in approximately the year 4 before the Common Era, in the city of Cordoba in what is now Spain. His father was a distinguished writer and teacher. Seneca himself became one of the most influential men in Rome, serving as advisor to the Emperor Nero, managing vast estates and wealth, commanding respect and fear among the political elite. He was, by any standard, a man of tremendous power and privilege in a way that Epictetus could never be. The world seemed to bend to his will. He possessed everything that people naturally desire. Yet Seneca was also a deeply committed Stoic philosopher who used his wealth and position as a laboratory for practicing virtue. He wrote extensively about the dangers of luxury, the way that excess dulls the mind and ensnares the heart. He spoke eloquently about the importance of voluntary simplicity, of practicing poverty intentionally so that one would not fear it if it came involuntarily. He wrote letters to his younger friend Lucilius that have become, for many readers across the centuries, some of the most consoling and wisely practical teachings in all of philosophy. One of Seneca's most striking practices was his periodic adoption of simple living. He would wrap coarse linen around his shoulders, the kind that catches slightly on the skin, reminding you of its presence with each movement. He would sit with bread and water and notice the absence of salt, of oil, of the richness his wealth could procure. The bread would taste like bread alone, without refinement or enhancement. He would lie on a bed of wood with a thin mat and feel the point of contact where body meets surface, exactly where it presses most. He would eat these simple meals and sleep on this simple bed, not as punishment, but as knowing, as learning, as deliberate practice. Then he would observe his own mind and body closely. He wrote about this practice. It is precisely in times of immunity from care that the soul should toughen itself. The man who never tested himself in poverty does not know whether he can maintain his integrity if he becomes poor. Through this practice, Seneca was training himself in the Stoic art of distinguishing between his actual needs and his habitual wants. He was also demonstrating something profound. That virtue is not something that emerges only from deprivation, but that it must be cultivated deliberately, consciously, and with intention. A wealthy person who understands the fundamental indifference of material circumstances is, in some ways, in a more precarious position than a poor person, because they have greater temptation to become enslaved to their desire for comfort. Every day, abundance whispers to them. Every pleasure is within reach. The soul must be trained actively, through practice, to remain free. Seneca's letters reveal a man constantly struggling with this tension, constantly recommitting himself to the practice of virtue, often failing and then picking himself up again. This honesty is part of what makes his teaching so powerful. He does not present Stoicism as a philosophy that produces perfect sages utterly unmoved by circumstance. Rather, he shows it as a perpetual practice, a daily recommitment, a process of training the mind and heart toward greater freedom. He is a work in progress, and he invites his students to see themselves in the same light. He writes of his struggle with anger, that most destructive of emotions. He acknowledges the difficulty of not becoming offended when treated with disrespect, even though logically he understands that another person's judgment of him is not within his control and therefore should not move him. He speaks of the way habit and passion sometimes overwhelm his rational understanding, and he encourages his students to be patient with themselves, to keep practicing, to return again and again to the fundamental principles. Progress is slow. Setbacks are inevitable. The practice continues. In his advice, Seneca emphasizes what he calls the premeditation of adversity. This is not pessimism, but rather a practical preparation of the mind. Before traveling, he suggests, imagine what might go wrong: the weather, delays, discomforts, the loss of possessions, the danger of the road. Before giving a speech or engaging in an important conversation, imagine how it might not go as you wish. Imagine criticism, misunderstanding, rejection. In this way, when difficulties arise, you will not be emotionally unprepared. You will have already accepted, at least intellectually, that this is within the realm of possibility. You will not be shocked or devastated. Seneca's philosophy also emphasizes the importance of community and of caring for others. He speaks beautifully of friendship, of the duty we have to those in need, of the way that kindness and generosity are expressions of virtue. He rejects the caricature, sometimes offered even in his own time, that stoicism leads to emotional coldness or social withdrawal. Rather, he shows that a properly practiced stoicism leads to deeper, more genuine relationships because they are not based on neediness or the demand that others meet our emotional requirements. We love our friends, we serve our community, not because we are trying to get something from them or to avoid the pain of loss, but because virtue calls us to do so. In the year 65 of the Common Era, Seneca was implicated, whether justly or not remains debated, in a conspiracy against the Emperor Nero. He was ordered to take his own life. According to accounts, he did so with the same calm and equanimity that Epictetus showed when his leg was broken. He spent his final hours in philosophical conversation with friends and students, speaking of the principles he had taught his entire life. As he lay dying, he continued to instruct those around him, turning even his death into a teaching. It was an end that he had, in some sense, been preparing for his entire life through his practice of contemplating mortality and accepting the inevitable. In the 2nd century of the Common Era, there appeared one final towering figure in the classical Stoic tradition. His name was Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, and he stands unique among philosophers for the singular position he held. He was the Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the known world, and yet one of the most devoted practitioners of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius was born on the 26th day of April in the year 121 of the Common Era. From his earliest childhood, he was groomed for greatness in ways that few human beings have ever experienced. Tutors were appointed to teach him rhetoric, philosophy, and the arts of governance. His mind was shaped by some of the finest thinkers of his time. The weight of expectation settled on young shoulders. He was being trained to be emperor, though he was not yet aware of the full magnitude of what that meant. He was adopted by the Emperor Antoninus Pius, and in the year 161, at the age of 40, he ascended to the throne. His position seemed to promise everything: absolute power, the ability to reshape the world according to his will, access to every pleasure and comfort available to the ancient world. The entire apparatus of empire stood ready to serve his desires. Yet what we know of Marcus Aurelius's internal life comes primarily through a remarkable text that survives to us, his personal journal, which he titled simply to himself, though it is known to modern readers as the Meditations. This work was never intended for publication. It was not written for students or for the broader public. It was a series of personal reflections, notes to himself, reminders of principles that he knew to be true, but that he constantly needed to re-internalize. In this way, it is perhaps the most intimate and honest document in the entire Stoic canon. We are listening in on a man talking to himself in private, in the depths of night, struggling to understand his own mind. What Marcus Aurelius reveals through his meditations is a man deeply anxious, struggling with the burden of his position, constantly doubting his own adequacy for the tasks before him. He writes of his tendency toward anger, his difficulty in maintaining patience with those around him, his struggle against vanity, and the desire for praise. He reminds himself, repeatedly, that other people's judgments of him are not within his control, that he should not require that they approve of his actions, that their blame need not disturb his peace. Yet the reminders must be repeated because the old patterns resurface again and again. The mind reverts to its habitual ways. One of the most poignant themes in the Meditations is Marcus Aurelius's constant meditation on mortality, not from a place of despair, but from a place of attempting to gain perspective. He reminds himself that he will die. So will everyone he knows. The empire itself, which seems so permanent and vast, will crumble into dust. All the people he sees in the streets of Rome, the merchants, the soldiers, the senators, will be dead within generations, and the world will move on without them. This meditation is not morbid. Rather, it is clarifying. It is the practice of stepping back from the immediate urgencies of the moment to see them as what they truly are: small, temporary, insignificant against the vast backdrop of time. By contemplating his own mortality and the transience of all things, Marcus Aurelius attempted to place his daily frustrations and anxieties in proper proportion. He was not the first emperor to make mistakes. Emperors before him had made mistakes and been forgot. He would not be the last. The work before him was to do his duty well, to govern with justice and wisdom insofar as he was able, and then to release his attachment to how history would judge him. That was not within his control. What mattered was the quality of his intention and effort, not the ultimate outcome. The Meditations reveal a man trying desperately to live in accordance with nature and reason, which is the highest Stoic goal. Marcus Aurelius understood nature as a living, rational principle, what the Stoics called the logos, that pervades all things and guides the universe toward its proper functioning. To live in accordance with this nature means to understand oneself as part of a larger whole, to recognize one's duties to that whole, and to perform those duties without complaint or attachment to personal advantage. For Marcus Aurelius, this meant taking seriously his role as emperor. He could not simply abdicate his position and retreat into philosophical contemplation, though the Meditations show that part of him longed for such simplicity. Rather, he was called to rule justly, to defend the empire, to make difficult decisions that would affect millions of lives. He was also, at the same time, called to remember that these tasks, however important, were not ultimately about him or his legacy. He was one instrument among many in a universe, governed by intelligence and purpose. He writes with poignant clarity about the way that people, even those closest to him, would inevitably disappoint him, betray him, or fail to understand his intentions. He rehearses in advance his own responses. He would not be surprised because he understood human nature. He would not be angry because anger was a judgment that they should have been different. He would respond as justice demanded, but he would not expect gratitude or changed behavior. He would do what was right because it was right, not because it would result in appreciation. The Meditations also reveal the way that Marcus Aurelius practiced the discipline of perception and the discipline of assent. When a difficult thought arose in his mind, when he began to feel anxious about the future or offended by a slight, he would not simply suppress the thought. Rather, he would examine it. What am I telling myself? Is this actually true? Am I assenting to this judgment, or should I withhold my assent and entertain a different interpretation? This practice, which grows naturally from Stoic principles, is perhaps the core of what makes Stoicism a practical philosophy rather than a merely theoretical one. In this way, through steady practice over time, Marcus Aurelius gradually transformed his relationship to the demands placed upon him. He did not become indifferent to his duties or stop caring about the empire. Rather, he stopped demanding that the empire function according to his preferences. He stopped suffering when things did not go as he wished. He learned to find a kind of quiet acceptance with what was, while continuing to work skillfully for what should be. In the year 180 of the Common Era, at the age of 58, Marcus Aurelius died, likely from plague. He died not having achieved what might be called perfect tranquility or perfect virtue. He remains, in his writings, a work in progress, a man practicing a philosophy without ever claiming to have fully mastered it. And perhaps this is why his writings have resonated so powerfully with readers for nearly 19 centuries. Because he demonstrates that Stoicism is not something achieved once and then possessed forever, but something practiced and repracticed, again and again, for a lifetime. In these lives of four great teachers, a pattern emerges, clear and consistent across the centuries, that the practice of philosophy is not separate from the practice of living, but is rather the very substance of living well. Now we turn to explore the very center of their teaching, the practice of virtue and alignment with nature, which is the actual lived experience of Stoic philosophy. For the Stoics, virtue was not one good thing among many goods. Rather, it was the only true good. Everything else, wealth, health, beauty, reputation, pleasure, even life itself, was morally neutral. It was neither good nor bad in itself. Only virtue, only the practice of wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline constituted genuine good. And only vice, the practice of ignorance, cowardice, injustice, and self-indulgence, constituted genuine harm. This teaching seems almost incomprehensible to the modern ear. So habituated are we to believing that wealth is good and poverty is bad, that health is good and sickness is bad, that pleasure is good and pain is bad. Yet the Stoic claim was subtle and important. These things are not bad, certainly, and it is natural and reasonable to prefer them. But they are not good in the deepest sense, because their presence or absence does not determine whether one is living well. A person could be wealthy and morally depraved. A person could be healthy and cowardly. A person could be honored in society and fundamentally dishonest. Conversely, a person could be poor and utterly virtuous, could be ill and courageous, could be despised and honest. The Stoics were adamant that the latter person, despite all their external disadvantages, was living far better than the former person, despite all their external advantages. The wealth could be lost in a moment of misfortune. The health could be destroyed by illness. But virtue, once cultivated, cannot be taken away. It belongs entirely to the self. To align with nature, in Stoic terms, meant to recognize one's fundamental nature as a rational being and to live in accordance with that nature. Humans, unlike other animals, possess the capacity for reason and moral understanding. We are capable of examining our judgments, of choosing our actions, of aligning our will with what is right and true. This capacity is our defining characteristic, and to exercise it fully is to live well. An animal follows its instincts. A human can reflect on their instincts and choose whether to follow them or not. The Stoics also taught that we are not isolated individuals, but parts of a greater whole. We belong to the human community. We have duties and obligations to others. We are also part of the natural world, subject to the same laws that govern the cosmos. And all of this, they taught, is governed by a rational principle, the logos, that ensures the universe is ordered toward good. To align with nature means to recognize our place in this order and to perform our function within it. We are like individual cells in a great body. Our well-being depends on serving the health of the whole. The four cardinal virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, were understood as the fundamental practices through which one cultivates this alignment. Consider wisdom first. Wisdom was the ability to discern what is truly good and what is merely apparently good. It was the practice of understanding what lay within one's power and what did not. When you receive news that your investment has failed, your first impulse might be panic. Your mind races through scenarios of loss and deprivation. But if you pause and practice wisdom, you ask, what is actually within my power here? My response, my next action, not the money that is already gone, not the outcome I had hoped for, but how I will now proceed. In that pause is wisdom. That is the exercise of what defines you as human. Courage was the ability to face hardship, pain, and death without being moved from one's commitment to virtue. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to allow fear to dictate your actions. When you face a situation that demands something difficult of you, speaking truth to power, standing up for what is right despite the cost, enduring pain without complaint, you are practicing courage. The brave person is afraid just as the cowardly person is afraid. But the brave person acts anyway, because virtue calls them to act. Justice was the practice of treating others fairly, of recognizing our obligations to the human community, of acting in ways that benefit the whole rather than merely satisfying our personal desires. A person practicing justice might have the opportunity to cheat someone and gain advantage, but they will not do so because they understand that their good is not separate from the good of others. We are bound together. What I do to others, I do to the interconnected whole of which I am a part. And temperance was the discipline of moderating our desires and our actions, of not becoming enslaved to appetite or pleasure, of maintaining balance and proportion in how we live. Temperance is not the total rejection of pleasure, but the intelligent use of it. You may enjoy a fine meal, but you do not use food to distract yourself from difficult emotions. You may appreciate comfort, but you do not make comfort your goal. You use your appetites wisely, as tools in service of your larger purpose. These virtues were not understood as separate skills, but as aspects of a unified practice. A person practicing wisdom would naturally practice courage and justice and temperance, because they would understand what was truly beneficial both for themselves and for others. A person whose primary concern was virtue, whose guiding purpose was to live in accordance,